first of all, just want to introduce Isaac today. We've been chatting over the years, really, and we're working together really closely, which has been great. And it's been so nice to have this opportunity to actually chat together and educate people as much as possible. So just really want to introduce you to the Inside Blood sort of subset that we've got, which is this educational platform to try and make sure that we can get experts in their area and then sort of start to, you know, unfold how it's like bloods and more, you know, and how that fits around someone like yourself.
100%, yeah. No, I mean, my name is Isaac. I'm a professional bodybuilder, IFBB Pro, but also run a coaching brand or own a coaching brand where basically helping people to become healthier, get into the best shape they've ever been in, but also educate them along the way on how to eat healthier, how to train properly, and how to just live a better lifestyle. So I've been working with Rob quite closely in regards to, you know, basically helping people to understand their bloods, understand like more in depth about their health, so they can make sure they're staying as optimal as they can, and so we can also make sure I'm programming the right training plan, the right nutrition that makes them, you know, get better results essentially. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in regards to that, and so yeah, should be fun.
Sounds perfect. So all I want to do first of all, just to kick things off in essence. So the conversations we've had a lot of the time, you know, are like, you know, like, Rob, can I get my bloods done? You know, here's where I am at certain points. So I suppose like for you and for people out there who are kind of looked at bloods or then thought to themselves, right, yeah, we'll do them, but we might do it on like a finger prick test or something like that. Like what, you know, what's the importance of taking it to that next level and having that advice after it?
Oh, it's super important, but I always tell guys, like, you want to be getting your bloods done regularly because it's kind of like a snapshot into what's going on to your body, in your body. So obviously, when you're competing at a high level, unfortunately, that comes with, you know, taking performance enhancement drugs. So without knowing what's going on in your body on a regular basis, you don't know how that's going to relate to your performance as well, and whether you can actually compete at a high level without opening yourself into further risk of, you know, health complications down the line. So obviously with you, whenever we go to get your bloods done, to get my bloods done, I always make sure that I know, okay, so I'm off at the moment, so I want to know what my baseline is. So I want to making sure that I can actually, you know, be on the performance enhancement drugs without, you know, jeopardizing my health further.
Yeah.
Because look, you know, what we're doing is it's a risk, it's a health risk, and I guess in every like sports there's going to be risk, you know. And what I'm doing right now is to make sure we're mitigating as much risk as possible and making sure that I can stay optimal as best as I can within the sport that I'm in. So the bloods definitely help just to give me a snapshot of where I'm at and also how far I can push things to.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the whole thing, is that getting the bloods done regularly, but then making sure that you have that team and that advice and that expertise afterwards. Because like what we always, the way we always see it at GC Bioscience, like the bloods are always a starting point. A lot of other companies, you know, that will do, you know, finger prick testing or basically, you know, then just fire out reports with like very small descriptions. That's their end point. You know, then they're like, right, let's leave them to it. What we're trying to do, and we're trying to highlight like, with these kind of series, is that people who are on the front line like yourself and who are speaking to people every day who want to do something or look like you and perform like you know, which is not easy.
It's not easy.
You know, even though like people will go, oh yeah, performance enhancing drugs, yeah, it's all well and good, you know, but it doesn't work like that. You have to put the effort in. You have to watch your nutrition. So yeah, the whole point is for people to understand that where that fits in and that whole journey after. So obviously we do your bloods as at certain time points. And then what's the kind of thing that you glean from that? You know, what's your onset from that, really?
Yeah, so once we get the results back, obviously we get, you know, advice from you, you know, seeing, okay, where are we at? What do we need to focus on? Whether it is our HDL or LDL, all those type of markers. And then we make a game plan. Okay, cool. This is how far we can stretch it. That is ideal. That's not going to put us into like any health complications down the line. And then we get it again in 3 months. I like to do it every 3 months just to get little snapshots. And then again, get your advice as to, okay, where are we at? Is it a good idea to continue, or is it a good idea to pull back? And I guess that's where the expertise come in hand, because look, yes, I understand, you know, the bloods. I understand a lot about physiology and the body, but you're an expert. This is what you do on a day-to-day basis. So it's like, you know, my thing is getting people into shape. You know, yours obviously making sure people are healthy as possible within, you know, inside out and all that kind of stuff. So I obviously get advice from you, so I can relate that to my clients and make sure they're staying as as healthy as they can, quote unquote healthy.
Yeah, and like you say, it's I suppose there's so many people out there. So our kind of one thing that we do, which is different to a lot of companies as well. We're not looking to do, look, here's a few markers, here's a small panel.
Yeah.
So imagine for yourself, like we run a full GC Bioscience like metabolic 360, which basically means we're looking at the full picture. And what's really nice, what we see with your bloods as well, is we see those interactions with things.
Yeah,
so we're not just saying, right, let's look at your testosterone, and see, oh, is it high, is it low,
Yeah, there's so much other nuances, there's all other things to take into consideration. And I think that's one of the main things, because obviously when you understand at the level that you do, I can go to a GP, like no offense to GPs, but I can go to a GP and I'll pull my bloods and they'll probably have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God. Whereas obviously with you can see other markers and you can be like, okay, this makes sense. This, as a result of this is going to be high, this is going to be this. And then you kind of give me a thorough breakdown and thorough overview and explanation of my bloods based on what I'm doing. So it's definitely helpful.
I think that's great. What I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of, as part of an education to the guys that you kind of follow you and aspire to be you. One thing I'd like to do first of all is that, number one, where would you see it in terms of the people who, like, let's say they take stuff, from anywhere, from gym bags, etc., whatever, and then they're like, look, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. Like, whatever I'm putting in, I just don't want to know. Well, what's your advice for those people first of all?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, there's a lot of guys like that.
This is what I'm saying.
There is a lot of guys, especially like I speak to guys in the gym. Like for me, like the only reason, so I've been a natural athlete actually longer than I've been assisted. And the reason why it became assisted was because, look, the level that I'm trying to compete at, it's kind of entering a battle with a blunt sword. You have to play the game, and obviously for me, I want to be one of the best in the world. So and that's just what comes with it, unfortunately. But so for me, like I've always been health conscious because I got into this industry to be as healthy as I can. So obviously, as a result of now, obviously transferring to where I am right now, it's like, okay, I'm more health conscious than the typical gym lad. So when I see a gym guy who is just doing it recreationally, I'm like, so what is your reason for doing this? I think you gotta weigh up the risk and benefits, ratio and see whether it's actually worth it. And so when I speak to guys that are completely clueless, I'm like, mate, you're putting your health at risk. And you at least get your bloods to see what's going on. So I try to educate people, but then again, it's one of them ones that you can only help them so much. They have to really want to know it themselves. And I always recommend people, look, speak to a doctor, get your bloods done, know what's going on inside, because without that, you don't know how long you can actually be on this, and you don't know actually what's going on inside. Because a lot of people have stuff that's already, let's say for example, if they have a risk of high blood pressure,
or family history or
something like that, and you're taking testosterone, what's going to happen? That's only going to get worse. So it's like, mate, you need to know what's going on before hopping on. So I have loads of clients that come to me initially. I'm like, oh, okay, like I want to become assisted. I'm like, okay, cool, that's your decision to make. I'm not going to obviously help as long as you know the health risk. We're going to get your bloods done straight to a full bloods panel, and then from there we'll get it done regularly. If you don't want to get your bloods done, I'm not the coach for you. You know what I mean? Like,
which is amazing, isn't it?
That's how I do it.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and it shows like how you set yourself above the rest for sure. And I think with that, so of course, that advice there is basically you don't just do these things without not looking at them. It's so important to have a look. And secondly, with that, people who are out there that will do, let's say, an unreliable finger prick test, and then just do, let's say, a testosterone panel. It's like looking through the keyhole, isn't it, into a room where they're like,
it's
actually
doesn't give you the full picture of what's going on. So it's like it's not even worth it, to be honest. Like, what are you? It's like you need to understand what you're looking at, understand what you're trying to gather from it, and also. So that's why look, it's a little bit more expensive to get the full blood panel, but I'm like, mate, it's your health. You spend that much money on a night out without even blinking an eyelid.
Exactly.
So it's like, pay the money, let's see what's going on, because that's going to give you a better understanding of how you are and what's going on inside of you. So yeah, it's definitely important. I'm one of those guys that, as I said, I'm a bit OTT about it, but again, what I'm doing is it's not the best. It's not the most. How can I even put it in words? It's there's a lot of risk that comes with it.
Yeah,
You know?
oh, absolutely, and that's what I want to kind of. So those guys who are not even thinking about it, checking anything,
Yeah.
and they're at that level, you know, it is crazy. It's like a ticking time bomb, you
I
know,
would
for
say
sure.
for guys that are on my level, a lot of guys are like me, like
Yeah.
myself, like trying to become the best in the world.
Oh,
Because
I agree.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like we need to know it's a longevity game.
Yeah.
Okay, it's more about like okay, how much can I push this? How far can I go without knowing your blood patterns, without having it like and it's the blood is just one layer.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there's loads of other tests that we need to do that we do on a regular basis in order to see like a full picture, like your heart as well. We need to know what's going on with your heart because unfortunately, obviously, when we're training hard, with the level that we're training at, there's obviously a risk that your heart is going to thicken up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we need to know what's going on inside.
Well,
there
that's
as well.
exactly it. So I wanted to sort of look at one side of the scale, you know, people who are hitting the gym, taking things, and then turning around and saying, look, I don't want to know. Like they're one end, they should definitely get checked
those
one
guys
way or
should get-
another,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Now what I want to do is, I want to start to go up into the other end. Now, someone like yourself, who's the very high performer athlete, looking at this from a very, inch wide, mile deep, where we're going super specific. Now we're in a world now where there's more data available to us than ever before. Now what I mean by that is that you could get an MRI easily, we can get ultrasounds easily, but you can get your bloods very easily, haphazardly. But also you can wear like Whoop straps that will do ECGs, blood pressures, so what I want to kind of do is gleam into that sort of like that fact that an athlete at your level, where are you kind of like, obviously we're doing the bloods, like what is it looking like in terms of a bit of a strategy, like when you're going on, when you're going off, like performance wise, just for the people who think about coming into it or doing it and not doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess.
If you don't mind, like,
for sure. I think it's very interesting, and a lot of people will get the bloods as a baseline. That's like a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That's something you should get. And if anyone isn't getting the bloods done, hopefully after this conversation, you want to.
We can't drill it in anymore.
You want to get it done now because again, you need to know what's going on inside, and I can't stress that anymore. So then, when you go up the scale and you're trying to push yourself to become one of the best in the world at anything, becoming the best in the world or becoming one of the best in the world at anything, there's going to be a risk that comes with that because you're pushing yourself and pushing your body to the extremes.
Yeah.
So someone in my position, what I'm looking at now is okay, how's my heart? All right, because I am pushing myself. I'm training hard. I'm doing loads of cardio. I'm strength training rigorously every single day, consistently for years. That's obviously going to have a strain on your heart.
Yeah,
it's one of them ones. So you want to look at that. So we do like an echogram. I've done, I try to do that every 6 months, really, to be honest.
Nice.
Just to make sure I know what's going on there and everything is all good. And also what we also want to be looking at is a DEXA scan as well to see, the ratio between, your muscle and obviously how much muscle you have in your body compared to your fat and also bone density.
Yeah, nice.
So those are all the things that I try to look at as well. I do that once a year. And then again, just regular blood tests as often as I can.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would say. Like some people would do it like maybe every 3 months. With me, maybe every 2 months I would like to be doing it. Because things change.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, we were speaking to like the Thai boxers, like Liam Badko, who we kind of had on, and he was saying like when they're on their season, you say every month, couple of months, keeps you dialed in. Because another thing, what I want to kind of talk about in that extended blood panel. Like, so some of the main things, we're looking at red blood cell markers.
For sure.
Like you're saying, the thickening of the blood.
Yeah, that's
basically,
going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah. You're going to get increased red blood cell. And then what's going to happen is the blood's going to become thicker. And then if you have a higher blood pressure, it's going to be pumping it through the veins. So if you're not keeping an eye on things like you're doing, which is like the echogram, simple things that we do for people, which is like a carotid artery, Dopplers, and ultrasounds, you can then really determine and drill down that, what are your risk factors with that? Is anything going to happen? Should you really be doing it? Secondary, once you've got those red blood cells, obviously liver markers, obviously like, you know, kidney markers. All of these are based on, you know, how much is it being detoxified, how much is it being pushed out, what is it being transferred into. These are all really important stuff. But like once we set the health side of things aside and we go, right, we're you know, we're good, you know, and especially if you don't push it too hard like you're doing, which is incredible. Like, and for the people out there to know that and to understand that is really important. But then in terms of the larger picture, the fact that, like, you know, talking a little bit about your diet, nutrition, and how that can be influenced by the bloods is a really cool thing.
100%,
Things like iron, folic acid, B12, vitamin D, you know, looking at HDL cholesterol, which could be like a more of a Mediterranean type marker. Can you just talk me a little bit through kind of how you would focus on like on and off, because I imagine when you're off, right?
Well,
that's an athlete typically.
You know what? Like,
or are you pretty good throughout?
Bodybuilding is one of those sports that you're never off.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, like you're always on a diet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're never really off. Like for now, for me, like I've got like my meals in my bag.
Yeah.
Like ready to eat. So bodybuilding, I'll say, is the only sport, especially when you're competing at a high level. Like you get, you know, you're trying to make the Olympia and you're competing in that level. You're always on, like it's like off season and on season, but even the off season, you're still in a season. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you also have a goal to develop, so that means keep your body fat level at a certain level. Eating, you know, a diet in which you're essentially managing your weight gain per week. So you got to gain a certain amount of weight per week. So again, to do that, you need to track how much food you're eating. So I'm still weighing out every single meal. But it's one of them ones that you like. It's a lifestyle. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years now, so it's normal to me, completely normal to me. But yeah, so obviously when we get our bloods done and we'll see, let's say for example after a season, and I can see that, oh wow, my liver marker is really, really high, my creatinine is really, really high. Okay, so I do need to adjust my diet as a result. So I lower protein quite considerable now.
Nice,
because I don't need as much protein now as I did when I'm in the dieting phase. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. A lot of people will keep protein at a high level. But also that's just going to increase your liver markers. You know, it's going to raise it even higher. Obviously, when you are breaking down muscle, that's naturally going to be increased because that's just a byproduct of muscle breakdown. But I still try to make sure that we're giving the liver a bit of a break, a bit of a rest by, you know, adapting the diet. As you said, also when the HDL levels is going to be low naturally when, you know, you are on PEDs. So what we do then is we add in healthier fats into the diet, like salmon, almonds, all those like good fats. Try to increase that naturally as best as we can, and just give your body the nutrients that it needs. You know, increase, you know, green leafy veg in your diet. That's going to give you all the vitamins and stuff like that. So it's not just, okay, look at your bloods and then that's it. It's like, look at your bloods, then adapt, then change things up and make sure that we're still, you know, trying our best to improve those markers. If there's any marker that needs to be improved, it needs to, your plan needs to change. But so this is where the coaching and also education, and your coach needs to be educated in regards to those things as well. Because unfortunately, you know, in the coaching scene now, it's very saturated. But it's saturated with a lot of coaches that haven't an idea of what they're talking about, which unfortunately puts the athlete at a health risk as well. So for me, is, you know, one of the main things that I stand out is I have guys like you that I can just message. You know, I have you, to be honest, I can just message, hey Rob, this is the situation of my client, what would you advise? Unfortunately, not a lot of coaches have that, you know, or they don't even put the priority as, you know, I feel like if I'm going to, the position that I'm at in my business and also as a professional athlete, if I'm going to be advising people, or not even advising or helping people with their PEDs, it'd be reckless of me not to have someone like yourself to get advice from, you know, or try to make sure I'm managing my clients and making sure they're as healthy as I can make them. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches are not like that. So, so it's really important for, you know, people that's listening to this. If you are on performance enhancement drugs and, you know, if you're not getting the relevant support that you need from your coach, you better leave your coach because you're playing with your health.
Because some of them will just be have-a-go heroes that have done it before, but then they've you know. But there is some very good coaches out there, of course.
There are some really good coaches. You know, don't get me wrong. There's some great coaches, but I think a lot of people need to understand, or also even ask the right questions to the coach. And let their coach also help them understand the blood panels as well.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I always try to educate my guys based on the education that I gained myself. You know, I try to, well, put myself into loads of courses trying to understand things that I can relate to my clients. And also working with you as well, asking you questions, I could obviously relate that to my clients.
Yeah. I really like the, so like you were saying with the blood panels, like HDL cholesterol. So as a specific, you know, if you're on performance enhancing drugs, you will find that will drop like a stone, right?
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
that it
That's
will.
just what happens.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So anyone who's kind of thinking, like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like HDL cholesterol is the one which will come and mop up a lot of, you know, it's your good cholesterol. Like, just to simplify things. It's far more complicated than that.
Yeah,
but
just
for,
to make it easy for people to understand.
Like, so, but in essence, to drive up that, we see a nice correlation with HDL cholesterol and those good fats.
For sure.
So that's why we're seeing people who are living longer in sort of a Mediterranean type scenario. It's not due to red wine, you know, but it's basically they're eating a lot more good fats, lifestyle, and they're seeing that HDL. So for someone who's, you know, that's just one marker. And then things like iron, if iron all of a sudden shoots up too high, you've got to be looking at, should you be giving blood? Should you be, you know, like, should you be looking at these kind of strategies? These are only a few bits, like, that actually, is it also affecting other hormones, your thyroid? Is it affecting, you know, other items? Are you taking, like, growth hormones quite big at the minute, right?
Sure, yeah,
you know, like, you know, for people out there, like, what are you growing? You know, what are you...
That's going to grow everything.
It's going to grow everything, right?
Yeah.
You know, so which is quite a worry, because if you've got any sort of tumour circulating cells, it's going to grow. So if you've got predispositions to these things. So this is why we're not just doing it to say, oh, do you know what, blood testing, blah, blah, blah.
It's a lot more complicated, more in-depth than people realise.
It is.
And I think a lot of people, you know what, like, in this climate that we're in, and a lot of people are just, you know, like, they get into the gym, oh, like, you know, let's take this, let's take that. I'm like, mate, slow down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do a lot just eating well and training well. Like, that's your bread and butter.
It's exactly what I was going to go into, is the fact that, like, you know, for you, like you say, you're weighing things, you're sleeping well, you're eating well. You know, a lot of people think that if they, I mean, there's this whole thing, and it's all come from, I don't know where it's come from, but it's like people go to the gym and then they want a reward from the gym. So, like, they can eat, like, protein bars, and then they can drink, like, you know, cookie flavored shakes, and they can go and do whatever they want without watching their diet and monitoring these markers. You know, it's crazy, like, just to think you can take that and not have some sort of onset.
It's reckless. It's so reckless. And unfortunately, I think people just see that as just like, okay, PEDs, I'm going to take PEDs because I'm going to the gym. It's like that plus that, but it shouldn't be the case.
No.
I always say we reserve PEDs. If you want to make this a profession, like if you want to make, you know, I don't know, bodybuilding and going to the gym, the only reason I'm on it is because I've made it a profession.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a profession, I would be natural, because I've stayed natural for longer than I've been on PEDs.
Yeah.
And the whole reason I said is because I made it a profession. But regardless of that, your training has to be, and your training and nutrition has to be the priority. Because even if you're on all the PEDs in the world, and your training and your nutrition is not optimal, you are not going to get a good result also. So it's kind of like, that should be a last resort, and also kept for the people that actually want to take it and make it, you know, profession. In my opinion, that's just how I see it personally.
You're exactly right. And I, like, the more I learn, the less I know. But all I do know is that basically the way I kind of see it is that it's very much like a pyramid, right?
Yes.
So at the bottom of that pyramid, you've got your foundations. Your foundations are your diet, your sleep, and your movement.
For sure.
Everyone knows we get them right, then you can start layering stuff on. Problem is that people tend to turn that pyramid upside down. They go, right, let's take the supplements, you know.
Supplements, and then maybe the sleep, we'll take care of that later.
Let's do other things, and then and it's going to fall over, right? It's, you know, and people do fall over, and we see it a lot, you know, where then people start having anxiety attacks, people have, you know, health issues, etc., etc. So I suppose touching on that point, one thing I want to sort of, you know, while we've got your time, which has been amazing, is that, like, when obviously there's this whole new market of TRT.
Yes.
it's gone crazy, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it seems that you know, people can even do a finger prick testosterone,
Yeah.
single testosterone, or fill in a questionnaire,
And get
and
TRT.
you know, these are medical doctors that are
Yeah.
ticking this stuff off, and you can get yourself TRT.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to, like, it'd be nice to get your thoughts on that. You
Yeah.
know, as someone who basically, you know, this is your business,
Yeah,
because we're talking about. The individuals who are gym goers now, we're not talking about performance athletes or steroid users
Yeah.
who are bodybuilders.
Yeah, just normal average going.
These are normal average
Yeah.
going people.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the effects of that or taking that, I mean, first of all, what's your thoughts on it, I suppose?
I think a lot can be fixed by just training and nutrition. Like, if you have low testosterone, you fix those first before going on TRT.
Yeah.
In my opinion, your sleep will contribute. Like, if you have really bad sleep, your testosterone is going to be low. If you don't have a good diet, your testosterone is going to be low. If you're not training, your testosterone is going to be low. So it's kind of like fix your sleep, fix your nutrition, fix your training. Like, actually go to the gym and exercise. Do that for 6 months. Get your bloods done again.
Yeah.
And then I can pretty much guarantee you get a better results.
Right. It's exactly the advice that typically, you know, we'll recommend. We'll see someone low on TRT, and we're like, right, before you do anything, like, what's your sleep like?
Yeah, exactly. Straight away,
you know,
because that has a massive effect.
Yeah. So if they're not sleeping right, their testosterone's going to be through the floor.
Exactly.
And then, you know, what are the external stressors?
Yeah.
You know, so are you stressing yourself out through diet? You know, are you stressing yourself out through just like, you know,
Just
other
life as
factors,
well.
life, exactly. So, and then is that then lowering it? And then we're going to see increments based on retesting the bloods.
Exactly.
So that's
I think
like,
it's like a cross elimination, like, you know, eliminate all the elder factors, and then if you're training right, or if you have good exercise, you're moving, if you've got a good diet, and you've been on that for a decent amount of time, and also if you're getting good sleep, then okay, cool, what is the next step?
Yeah.
And if your T markers are still really, really low, then obviously you can look in TRT. But I think just taking that willy-nilly without having those bits in place is kind of like you're putting a bandage on something that also, you know what I'm saying?
Agreed. And I think this is the problem, is this, again, there's so many of these companies out there.
Yeah, they don't look into
And
those bits.
no, they're giving it, but they're not giving the advice. And this is why we find we're working heavily with like the frontline people, which are basically people like yourself, you know, people like trainers, nutritionists, dietitians, aesthetic clinics, doctors. You know, doctors are, to me, exactly the same. It's like, right, you got a medical drug, where's the diet and nutrition, and where's the aftercare, where's the, you know, and look, like, nothing against the doctors, like, the, you know, there's some amazing doctors out there, but they will say, I don't have a clue about diet and nutrition. So why are they, you know, trying to step into someone's lane that, do you see what I mean? Like,
100%,
so it's exactly the same with this TRT. It's like prescriptions and then leave people alone. And then there's going to be a big drop off a cliff and people are going to have a lot of issues, you know, 6, 12, 18 months. And one big thing, and nothing against TRT, nothing against Manjaro, you know, anything else.
Them as well. Like, as I said, like, you know, for the people that need it, it can considerably change your life.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen that throughout. Like, I mean, it's a great thing. Like, if we're looking at testosterone levels, if people are sitting at, let's say, 12 and they've got, you know, they've just got a genetic predisposition, or they find that they might need that to spur them on or get going, what we typically would say is that having that TRT, but having that aftercare is so important.
It's so important. I think also education, like just knowing like about it and understanding your body a little bit more, that goes a long way. And you know, you'd be surprised about the people that don't understand their body, like actually understand what's going on inside and how, you know, your low testosterone relates to other parts of your life. Like, okay, if you're naturally predispositioned to have low testosterone, okay, that's going to affect your mood. That's going to affect your, you know, your willingness to want to do things, your motivation. So when sometimes people feel a little bit depressed, unfortunately, I've had clients like that, you know, no offense to doctors, but they'll go to the doctors and they'll be put on antidepressants. And then I'm like, get your bloods done, mate.
Get the full picture.
Get the full picture, and you see their flipping testosterone is low as anything. I'm like, okay. Then this is when obviously we go to you. We're like, okay, Rob, this is a situation. What would your advice going forward? And then for people like that, when you consider all the other factors like sleep, nutrition, movement, then you can be like, okay, this guy would actually benefit from going on TRT.
Yeah.
But I think unless you've actually gone through like a thorough like cross-examination, I think I would say it's kind of reckless to just go straight on it, because you're essentially going to be on it for forever.
Forever.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you can either do it, sub-Q, or like, I'm trying to break it down for a beat. So you can either inject into
this belly fat, or
you can
muscle,
go muscular,
basically.
And then, or you can even do topical, but topical is not as effective.
Not as great, yeah.
But yeah, so if you don't want to be injecting for the rest of your life, then you want to make sure that you're cross-examinate as much as you can to make sure that you actually need it. And if you need it, it'll change your life. But if you don't need it, it will probably still change your life if you take care of what actually needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So that's my take on TRT. Like I said, I'm all up for it for people that needs it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the majority of people that actually go on it, like I've had loads of clients come to me and ask me, "Oh, do you think I need TRT?" I'm like, "What's your sleep like, mate?" And I'll be going through everything. We fix that. Like, I actually feel better. I'm like, "You don't need it, mate."
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want them to take something like that if they don't need it, because there's a lot of other risks that comes with that too.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's just trying to make sure people are educated. I think that's the main thing, is educating people. Unfortunately, in this scene that we're in the space of like gym, our people that go to the gym, because they see people like me that are on PEDs and want to aspire to look like me, but they don't understand the level of education I have in regards to what I'm doing. I'm not just taking it like just willy-nilly, and there's a lot of thought that goes in behind it. Like quite a lot of thought as well.
People don't get that, do they? And then when they've just got these subscription companies or anything else, like, and they're just getting it sent each month. And there's it's part of the picture, and yes, it might be solving, one initial thing, which is basically your testosterone. But is it solving everything else?
Because even taking PEDs or taking testosterone, it has a psychological effect on you as well. Like it's not only your body, but also your brain. It changes, changes things in your brain. Your dopamine receptors get a lot more. You need more dopamine, because it wants more dopamine. So that can also lead into something else. So, a lot of people that I know that take PEDs or tests end up being addicted to some crazy stuff because they need that constant dopamine spike. So do you know about that? A lot of people, like, again, for me, people that I work with, I always try to educate them in that scene as well. Because I feel like, yes, it can have an effect on you physically, but also has effect on you mentally.
Yeah.
And that's one thing people don't think about as well. So it's a lot more that comes into it. I guess, like, maybe people listening to this, hopefully you can see that it's not just, you don't see this big guy walking around just jabbing. They're actually, I'll tell you, there's a lot of bodybuilders that are really, really smart.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
they're really educated.
They've been there, done it, and they read, they enjoy reading, and they make it their life,
The guys that do it at the top level are nerds.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you kind of have to be able to sustain, the way that you push your body over like a high level. You need to understand what it's doing to your body, especially if you want to have longevity in the game. The people that I know that are my peers, they're very smart people in regards to like understanding their body and understanding what they're taking and the effects it has. And I think a lot of people that aren't in this field will just look at us and think, "Oh, you on steroids? Oh, you on this?" But you don't understand that, yes, we are on it, but, we're also more health conscious than actually you. You know what I'm saying? As I said, like, even when I decided to become assisted, I am a lot more health conscious than I was prior, making sure that I am 100%, as good as I can make myself.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's exactly how, how people should be.
Yeah, and I think hopefully by this, by obviously talking more about it, being more open about it, to allow people to obviously take it more seriously.
Yeah, I think people should be. Like I think TRT has helped people do that, be more open, be more honest, allow that, that open window. But at the same time, like you say, there's still... There is that big market of people who are just taking, not knowing, and then just haphazardly. And I suppose, so obviously, like there's the guys who are doing that and it's affecting their health directly. Definitely, they should be doing their bloods. The guys who are looking at things more specifically, the athletes at the top level, definitely should be doing their bloods. A lot of them probably already are. It's just probably getting that, that detailed look and that more integrative feel. Just, I'm conscious of your time because I know it's been brilliant you coming along today. But in terms of clients, so if you like working with a client, for example, and I know you work with some very good clients, and in terms of, let's say, using those bloods to then direct what pathway you go with their training, their nutrition, their health, how do you feel that kind of impacts things?
Yeah, 100%. As I said, like after we get the panels, and then you know, if things are not where we need them to be, then yeah, we definitely change the meals or change the nutrition, just to make sure that we are, you know, improving those markers. As I said earlier, we take them into like a Mediterranean diet, or just increase their fats altogether, you know, lower the protein, you know, their training also maybe adapt it. If they're training too intense, that's also, you know, we lower the volume, stuff like that shows they can have better recovery. Make sure that the sleep is more optimal. If for one reason or another their lifestyle doesn't help them to have good sleep, so okay, what can we take? Maybe ashwagandha to help to get to a nice relaxed state before going to bed. There's loads of things that we look into, and we try to make sure that we're, you know, putting them in the right direction to improve those markers.
Yeah, so for other professionals that kind of are looking at blood testing, like basically by doing that, you're really leveling up your business, your advice, your expertise, your professionalism.
You stand out in the industry because there's not a lot of coaches know about it. They just know, okay, diet, nutrition, but that's just like a small part of the whole thing, you know. As I try to get bloods done straight away, even before I take any clients on, because then I know how to make sure that you're as optimal as I can make you. That's me. That's all right. Yeah. So even if you don't want to do PEDs, or even if you're just a lifestyle client, they just want to eat healthy, be healthy, just get your blood done. You've never got it done before, mate.
And then it might be something as simple as iron deficiency, which is then the fact that they're not pumping enough oxygen around their body, they're not got enough energy to move around and circulate fats appropriately, which then means that they're not going to get the results they want. So something that simple. So
I think you'd be surprised how much just paying that extra bit of money, get your bloods done, give it to the coach, especially hopefully they're educated to know how to adapt the plan, and if they are, then you have a better experience and get better results. 100%.
No, awesome.